So, many people in the past few weeks have been asking why I stopped being vegan. And I keep thinking, oh, I should make a video about that. And I think I've made videos that have touched on the reasons, but never like one specifically about that. So here it is, you guys. I started this channel when I was vegan. And it was the first time in my life I had ever been vegan or vegetarian. Up until that point, I was a very carnivorous person and still am. It's really interesting. The reasons behind that decision were watching Forks Over Knives and the China Study research shared in that documentary, and it's really great, and I believe it. I believe it. I really do believe that dairy feeds cancer cells, and meat probably contributes to chronic disease, as well as dairy. Dairy being so inflammatory that feeds cancer cells, and it's also horrible for everything. And the fat, the kind of fat, the kind of grease in meat, as opposed to good fats like avocados and olive oil. That kind of fat, it's bad for cholesterol, and I'm sure for some people digestion and stuff like that. So I believe the research, and I agree with the research, and I do believe that we can have a happy, healthy life as vegans. I should say a healthy life as vegans. I don't know if I could be a happy vegan, because that's where we ran into part of the reason we stopped being vegan. It was a combination of things. I really do think that everybody has a food journey, and ours was, going full crazy vegan from one day to the next. And I have always been very confident in the kitchen, very comfortable in the kitchen. Becoming vegan really turned my world upside down, because all of a sudden I felt like every meal had to have something extra because it was lacking meat. So I wouldn't just make a hearty soup, with chicken and beans and potatoes and carrots and all this awesome stuff. I would make like a vegetable soup, and then I felt like I have to have something with it. And so I would make either potato pancakes or some sort of bread or some sort of fritter or something. I wouldn't just make vegetable fried rice or vegetable stir fry. I would make like egg rolls next to it, or pot stickers. Like everything became so much more complicated. And then and also because we eat all whole food, so I make everything from scratch. So it's the other thing that made everything so crazy. And so sure, there were some dishes that were awesome, like quinoa with roasted vegetables and chickpeas on top, and that was fine. That was totally satisfying to me. Oh yeah, and I would make like coconut rice with lentils, curried lentils, and like roasted vegetables and pita bread, because I didn't feel like without the bread it was going to be enough. And so I was always making this extra stuff, the tortillas, all the breads, all the little side things, the dumplings, the egg rolls, and it was a lot of work, especially because I had two very young children. So I remember having to start dinner by 4 every day to have it on the table around 5:30 every day. And man, that was just hard. And I don't think I was in the kitchen that whole entire time. It just with the cutting and chopping and prepping, and then with the coming back and making time to be able to make the tortillas and letting the dough rise, and then flattening them all out and griddling them all, and that takes time. So yeah, that was one of the things that were negative about the vegan diet. I cannot say that I experienced much difference in how I felt when I ate vegan. And I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to say being a vegan's bad. I believe vegans if they tell me they feel fantastic compared to when they ate meat. I feel like now, even though we eat meat and dairy again, we're eating all organic, grass-fed local meats, and we're eating raw, local dairy, organic, and we eat it in such small quantities that it does not make us feel bad. I mean, I have a family of 4, and we'll eat on a whole chicken for 3 to 4 days. That's like crazy to a typical, or that's crazy to me. 5 years ago, we would have eaten the whole chicken in one sitting. Of course, it's just a chicken. I'll have 2 or 3 pieces, and my husband will have 2 or 3 pieces, give the kids the last 2 little pieces, and then the whole chicken's gone. But not anymore. So I think that helps us feel better too, since our plate is like mainly veggies and organic basmati and a little bit of meat. And I usually don't have dairy in our dinners. Pretty much never, but every now and then I will. But pretty much never have dairy in our dinner. The only dairy we really eat is cheese with crackers for snacks sometimes, and yogurt. And that also is not every day. It's like every 2 to 3 days. So we're very light on the dairy. And I don't buy milk all the time. I buy it sometimes from the farmer's market. So this is the deal. We went from being completely vegan for health reasons, preventative reasons, and then went slowly added eggs back in because, man, it's hard to eat breakfast without eggs, man. I don't mind oatmeal, but I cannot eat oatmeal every day. And I would make, and I'm a savory breakfast kind of a person. I don't like pancakes and oatmeal and quinoa and French toast and all of these sweet things. I can't. I like savory. So to me, a piece of toast with a fried egg is like the best breakfast in the world. Love it, love it, love it. And yeah, I'll make like home fries and stuff like that sometimes, but that's like, I don't want to do that every single morning. It's easier to just whisk up 5 eggs, throw them in the pan, toast some bread, and grab the fruit in the fridge, and we have breakfast, So breakfast, we slowly added eggs back in because it was a pain, and I didn't want sweet stuff every day. And then this was a huge turning point for us. Ivan, my oldest son, got a big cavity, and I hadn't seen it. It was the top back right molar, so I didn't see it. And one day he opened his mouth, and I thought he had meat stuck in his mouth. I guess we were eating meat again when I discovered it, and I was like poking at it, and it's not coming out. And I thought, is that his tooth? Like, is that how cavities look? I thought cavities were black. This was like a spongy brown. I'm like, that's a cavity. My son's tooth is rotting. So I started researching like crazy about how to reverse cavities, and everything was saying bone broth, raw dairy, protein meats. And I was like, we don't eat any of that. We don't eat any of it. The only thing we eat is oats, which is saying all of that contributes to cavities because of the phytic acid, and beans and wheat. And I'm like, that's all we eat. We eat beans and bread and oatmeal every single day. So I was like, I gave him this cavity, and now to take it away, I have to change my entire diet. So I did, you guys. I started giving him bone broth every single day. I bought raw dairy. He drank cow's milk for the first time in his life. He was like 5.5. We got cod liver oil. We got black walnut hull tincture. We got, I got him swooshing coconut oil to do oil pulling. I mean, you name it, we did it for this cavity reversal. And we did it for about 3 weeks, and he was incredible. What a little trooper. And we added, organic local beef into our diet. And all of this, was for this cavity and for dental health and to prevent, teeth issues with my other son. So that caused us to like rethink through everything, because it was like, okay, we've been vegan for 3 years, and now we're like eating raw dairy and meat again. What is going on? What do we do? So basically, it was a joy to add meat back into our diet. I just have to say that. It made cooking a million times easier. And I was back to just being happy and confident and comfortable in the kitchen and not needing so much time to make sure there was dinner on the table on time. And I think that our ending just new place became let's continue doing all whole foods, non-processed foods, and let's get the best quality food that we can afford. So if we're gonna eat meat, let's get the best quality meat that we can afford. If we're gonna eat dairy, let's get the best quality dairy. If we're gonna eat eggs, the best quality eggs. So now we have chickens. So now we're not buying eggs anymore from the farmer's market. And this is new as of this week. Now we're officially down to no eggs from the farmer's market. For the last 3 weeks, I bought 1 dozen eggs. I went from buying 4 dozen eggs at the farmer's market to 2, to 3 to 2 to 1 for the last 3 weeks, and now 0. So we have our own farm fresh eggs. No antibiotic, no hormone chickens, We buy raw dairy when we buy it. We buy our milk, our cream, and our butter at the farmer's market. We buy local, organic raised chickens and beef. We have all of our organic dry goods that we purchase in bulk. And we do the best we can with produce to buy it locally, to grow our own. And then we do buy some at the grocery store that is not organic. And you can only do the best you can with what you've got. So that's what we strive for. And that's where we have been for the last couple of years and feel really, really, really good about it. So that's where we're at. I hope that's helpful and that answers your question. I don't think this is what everybody needs to do. I think if I had to say anything about one thing that everybody should do is not eat processed foods. If you want to eat dairy, eat dairy. If you want to eat meat, eat meat. But if I could just tell the world, stop eating processed foods, make your own food, know what you're eating, that is what I would say. Stop eating boxed and bagged and weird labeled foods. Just buy, produce, meats, dairy, eggs, and grains and seeds and nuts, and stop with the prepackaged processed food filled with a bunch of crazy chemicals that you don't even know what you're consuming. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful.